Hello, everybody, and welcome to a very special Terramundi Games stream. I literally cannot believe that we are here. We are starting for the very first time a playtest of Vault Peddlers. This is the game that Corey and I have been working on for like the last year. And we are lucky enough to have some very special guests with us, kind of going through the journey, as it were, as we dive into this world for the very first time. In no particular order, you guys can introduce yourselves just really briefly, but I just want to give everybody an opportunity to just say, hi, tell us your name, give us whatever else you want about yourselves, and we will get started.
Hi, I'm Adam Patterson. I am part of the stream. Obviously, I also helped Corey and Taylor, not the Slipknot lead singer, help with the creation of some of the world and setting for this. And my claim to fame here is I have the very cool achievement of having gotten into tabletop gaming only as an adult, but have been kind of into that for the past 7-8 years or so.
Super rad. Following up Adam Patterson is Adam Young. What's up? I've had the pleasure of knowing Corey and Taylor for the last few years, playing tabletops with them online. I've seen the mess that goes into making these games and have been playtesting with them since the beginning, and I'm really excited to see what the rules have actually evolved into and how much we can tear them apart and break them.
Nice.
My name's Nick. I'm Els Dragon on Twitch, and I am the person who watches this show every darn week. I've known Corey and Taylor only through this show, and for as long as this show has been on. I think I missed the first episode, but I've been excited about the development of this thing, and I'm excited to try it out now.
Man, Zach.
You go ahead.
All right, sounds good. I cannot stress enough how bizarre it is to have Els Dragon on here. It's so weird. It is truly the most bizarre thing.
It is weird. It is weird
that I am grappling with right now. Like, Corey and I have been talking behind the scenes all week about oh, I'm so stressed about this. I haven't even been stressed about that. I've been stressed about that I'm going to be on stream with you for the next month, which is the coolest and most terrifying thing in the world. If you don't follow Els Dragon's, is it Els Dragon? Els Dragoon?
Everybody does it different, and I kind of enjoy that.
Okay,
so.
Sick. Follow Els Dragoon's art streams on Twitch at Els Dragoon. They're phenomenal. But that is not why we're here today. What we are here today for is to begin the process of playtesting for Vault Peddlers. And that comes, of course, with a wonderful new set of characters that are going to kind of go through this world. Before we dive in to today's stream, I wanted to kind of give a little bit of insight into this world, give a little bit of a background for the players as they're going in. Obviously, Adam Patterson has already done a little bit of work in helping us build this world, so some of these people have maybe a better grasp on what this world looks like than others do. But for those of you walking into it new, I want to provide a little bit of context that'll help you as you make a character. So, what do you need to know about this world? Well, Vault Peddlers is a game of Rustpunk. It's a game of the post-collapse. The idea is that maybe a dozen generations ago, the world ended, right? Or at least the world as they knew it then. This was once a highly technological world, satellites in orbit, incredibly interconnected, that eventually succumbed to an economic, political, and ecological collapse. I know use your imagination. Just try to imagine, right? Ecological disaster, destroying a modern.
This is supposed to be a world of fantasy.
I know. We really like escapism.
Yeah, where's
here.
my escapism?
Yeah, we like escapism here at Terramundi Games. But all of that was these were the problems of your ancestors, right? They're not your problems. You exist probably a couple hundred years. Corey and I have been going back and forth as to exactly how long it's been. For that reason, this adventure set is not going to really play into a lot of deep lore. It's just going to be a cool, fun fucking adventure. But it's been somewhere between like 300 to 500 years since that happened. And since the collapse of the world, some things have occurred. For this, I want to point everybody to our copy of Vault Peddlers 1E that you all should have available. And I want to point you to the timeline. Now, this just covers the first 100 years, but it gives you a couple of important events that maybe help contextualize this world. The biggest thing that you need to know is that this world, Eba, is a world that exists mostly as wilderness. It exists mostly as frontier. It's a lot of terrain that is many miles in between. There are very few major cities. There are a couple of established ones. Ishtos is probably the one that is the most founded in lore as of right now. If you are a longtime viewer of our stream, you may have caught us doing the Quiet Year with Adam Patterson, where we established a ton of the first year in Ishtos. It's the oldest city in Eba. But there are also cities Orid and Vigil, which are these large kind of metropolitan centers, or at least what passes for them now. Maybe more important than that, though, is the amount of life on Eba. Following this disaster, following this collapse, we have the arrival of Star Shatter energy, essentially alien species, visiting this planet, beginning to colonize it. This is not a game that is about, humans banding together against, evil aliens. We don't do that kind of xenophobia here at Terramundi Games. Instead, these aliens were welcomed as kind of saviors, if we're being really honest. Humans were having a very difficult time making a go of it, but with the help of these kind of visitors, we found new means of survival. We found new means of civilization. And in addition, we found new means of life that were given birth by the introduction of that Star Shatter energy. The plants and the trees began to form and take life. Even the trash, the refuse, began to take life in the form of the Polyutar, who, by the time of this adventure run, have now formed principalities and kingdoms that span the entire continent. More than this, though, this is a world in which people need things done, and they are willing to pay money to do them. And that's where the four of you come in. Our characters are taking the role of what's known as Vault Peddlers, taking their cue from Constance de Orod, who was a criminal sentenced to death in the city of Orod. You now take your jobs from contractors, interested parties, to do various odd jobs across the continent of Eba, earning petty coin, that's our in-fiction and meta currency for the game, and also earning with it a reputation that comes along with it. So that was a very long explanation for what Eba is and what you all do. It's a weird combination of like mercenaries and long-haul truckers and bad reputation, I should add. Sorry, reading the chat shouldn't do it. Need to leave that alone.
Get out of my domain.
Yeah, this is Corey's job now. I don't have to
Also,
do any
we
of
have a
that.
fifth playtester. I hope you guys don't mind.
Yay!
Yay, baby!
It's a little
Oh.
kitty.
Adam
If you
also
have
has
cats,
a
you have to
large
put them
cat.
on the stream. Mine will be along shortly. All right, so I think that we are ready to get started. Does anybody have any opening questions about the setting specifically that might help you as far as making a character? Is there anything you'd like to know about this world?
I think I'm gonna find it out as we go. Personally,
It was a good intro.
All right,
Yeah.
sounds good.
I just need to emphasize the importance of storied folk hero Dooner Brining.
Correct. Yes.
Yes.
I need to actually record that song like properly,
Yeah.
but the world will know. They will not forget the name. In fact, you know what? I'm going to make a pledge. By the end of this playtest, we're going to hear an actual recorded version. Legend of Dooner Brining. You heard it here
Cool.
first, folks. As if we didn't give you enough reason to continue watching. All right, sounds good. So, the first thing we need to do here, character creation for Vault Peddlers, comes in effectively 4 steps. The 5th step is making a caravan, which has a bunch of steps involved in that. So we'll get to that here in a minute. The first thing that you need to do is you need to pick your species. While they get this pulled up, I am going to pull up. Let me see here. There we go. I'm going to pull up this sheet, which is the beautiful character sheet that Corey has designed. He made this whole series of of documents over the last 2 weeks. It's been an absolutely insane workload that he has just man-powered through. So what we're determining here is species. Species comes with certain bumps to... hang on one sec. Okay, there we go. So yeah, you're going to ask a couple of questions regarding the background of that character. These add to bumps to your skills and to your attributes, both of which are essential parts of making roles in this game. So I'm curious, because I know a couple of us have gone into this with concepts for what they might want to do for their character. Does anybody want to talk about their decision for species specifically?
I can start first just because I already have an answer, and maybe that'll help everybody else.
Yeah.
We can watch it go, because some of these I've already thought about a little bit. So
Yeah.
I was going to do the plant ones. What are they? The embryophytes? Is that what they are?
Yeah.
Cool.
there.
So I was not aware that there was species-based buffs or otherwise. Is that part of what happens when I pick them?
So what happens is when you pick an embryophyte, let me scroll down here. So you have two questions that you need to answer, right? And these questions are different for every species that you select.
Right.
So let's actually just go through this here. So there are a lot of different clans for embryophytes. Elster,
Right.
which clan does your character hail from?
And you're talking about these first 5 here.
Correct.
Now okay. So the clan names that you're referring to though are the not like the adaptation, but like the central root. That's the clan,
Yes,
right?
correct.
Okay. Because everybody has like adaptation, clockwork, ferocity,
Correct.
ballistics, obviously. So what does that part refer to?
So what it means is that, let's say your character is from the central root, it means that you get a +1 in adaptation.
Okay. Well, I am from the Riders of the Breach, where they tame and ride their elderly, which sounds like something my mother-in-law is not up for. But anyway, so that means I get a ferocity buff. Is that right?
It does. So I'm curious, Elstragoon, what made you pick Riders of the Breach? What
It just
about
sounds
them
awesome. It just sounds rad.
Tell me a little bit about why you picked Ember Fights. What was
So
the
actually,
thing?
I liked the idea. So the Star Shatter concept was new when I read this, despite having followed along. I guess I missed like episode 1, where like honestly, like that little pitch you just did, like is like something I didn't get until I read this thing. So I'm like, oh, I get it. So then, like, I liked the idea that there was something here before that wasn't a species that is now just as a side effect of aliens showing up, which I thought was cool.
Yeah.
So I picked them. I thought the idea of like riding a gigantic angry old person around it was pretty cool. And I actually the next part, there's a part where it's actually, it wasn't until like the second part, began to question your clan's method of dealing with the overgrown. That's like the other part. I just thought it would, the concept of like the character that I was actually thinking more like we're like runaways, like our clan was like do something with them.
Yeah.
But instead I like rode mine away to like go figure out something else, like right. And now we become this like world traveler. We're like taking a look at other cultures to see how they handle their elderly, and then maybe someday we go back and like be like, no, we're doing it all wrong or whatever. But for now, I'm just like this inquisitive person taking care of like gigantic angry grandma or whatever.
I love that so much. So my question then, so it sounds like we're going with Ferocity, Riders of the Breach, and
right.
You began to question your clan's method. That would be either it's a plus to deduction or to memory. So which one do you
memory,
want?
okay. Deduction.
Deduction. Okay. So make sure that you have a +1 marked to your Ferocity, and make sure that you have a D6 in your deduction. And that's going to be... What's up?
Is this going to be like a put it in pencil because it's going to change, or put it in pen because this is my character?
It will likely change, so put that in pencil, yes.
That's a pencil move.
Yeah. All right, cool. So that is 1 down. Who would like to talk about their chosen species next?
Me. Okay. Your boy Hank returns.
Yes!
Hank is a human. Technically, but as we know from the background here, the changing of the world and collapse and the arrival of Star Shatter caused even humanity to take somewhat different forms, and can have some variations in like appearance and the like. Hank's issue is that something went wrong, something in the water. Who knows what it is? Maybe a little bit of trace Star Shatter got into the boy's system, maybe in the womb, and Hank came out big. But the issue isn't Hank, being born big. It was the fact that like Hank got enormous. Like maybe it's maybe they don't have the medical knowledge to discern what it is, but it's probably like a combination of like a pituitary gland disorder and just something hyper driving his testosterone production. Hank is like 7'2", just like enormously like HGH, naturally HGH outed, fellow. Despite his immense size and bulk, didn't seem to really translate into how do I put this, mental giantness. Hank is totally not Lenny from Of Mice and Men, or a particularly like brutal version of the same. But that's Hank.
Beautiful.
That is the most on-brand character for you, Adam.
I believe this is Hank's 3rd appearance.
This is.
Hank is forever.
So, Hank, let me ask you a couple of questions.
Yes.
So, how does Eba affect your ancestral line? It sounds like prominent features is maybe the best option. I know that he's normally just kind of big and dumb and strong. It sounds like Holistics, honestly, is the closest one here. I don't know. I mean, we can.
That
play
says
kind of
specifically facial features, right?
It does. We're gonna need to play fast and loose with this, depending on your answer.
Yeah, the thing is, I was because it's Hank's most notable features is just like his physical hugeness, and this doesn't translate into like claws and teeth, but like with someone who looks like he's fallen face first into Arnold Schwarzenegger's closet, circa 1972.
Sure, he does look very feral, though. I think is probably accurate.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would guess probably it translates into plus ferocity.
Yeah, I think you're right. Absolutely.
Just flavor is different, right?
All right. So Hank, what pushed you out of your community?
So Hank, God bless him. In all likelihood, it falls under the category of, in this case, probably fervent protection and short-sightedness. In attempt to protect his homeland, got a little bit over the top, or didn't work out as planned. So I would say it's probably something along those lines.
Okay.
Hank is not an evil fellow per se. He's just a little bit smashy. And I'm imagining that got out of hand at the wrong moment. And so I'd say probably a plus to brutality.
Yeah, I think that tracks for him. So this is just a GM to player question. I mean, can you tell me a little bit about that incident? Like, did Hank choke a cop or something? Like, what's going on?
He probably did. He probably did.
Yeah.
I like Hank.
Yeah,
Sounds like Hank.
Hank is deeply, terribly loyal, and it's probably I would guess maybe in adolescence or something. A friend of his might have done something mildly illegal, the equivalent of minor shoplifting, and probably could feasibly be arrested under decent, cause. But Hank didn't want his friend to be menaced by the future Poe, and may have very easily and almost without realizing it wrung someone's neck or three. And they figured that Hank probably had to go.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Okay, so
just wanted to pet the rabbits.
So make sure that you have
can't join us.
Make sure that you have a +1 in ferocity, and make sure that your brutality is currently sitting at a D6. Remember, you will probably change these moving forward. So these are temporary bonuses that you have.
Yeah, and +2. You said brutality is 26.
Yeah, brutality is a D6. Ferocity is a +1 right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Skills work similar. If anyone's played Savage Worlds, it's an evolving die type in the same way that Savage Worlds is.
Okay, Adam, Young, or Zach, who wants to go next?
Yeah, I'll jump in. Okay. Either way, I think we're both in the same mind. Whatever. I was thinking of running a Polytar.
All right, sick. Tell me about the Polytar.
It's kind of vague on what sort of bioorganism they come from, so I imagine it could be kind of anything that you would find in a dump. So I'm picturing a pieced together rat person with picking whatever useful things from the garbage could be combined into his body to make him a superior organism to humans, having been maligned their entire existence prior to it.
You know that Corey and I weren't going to make a game and not give people the option to be trash people.
Yeah.
Just want to be a rat.
I want to be a garbage man. I am in real life.
Are a proud species with a really elaborate regency system beneath the poisoned waves.
Which I think is perfect for something that normally was considered to be a dishonorable creature.
Yeah.
Kind of a thief.
And on that note, from which Polyutar Regency does your character hail?
Torn between, what was it? Holistics? The Halcyon Dynasty?
It's a dope name.
Or, oh no, the Baronry of the Mechanized Vault was pretty cool. That was the idea of this pieced together rat creature. Yeah, definitely the clockwork bonus from Baronry of the Mechanized Vault.
Okay, sick. So yeah, take a +1 to clockwork. And then, why aren't you there anymore? What separated you from your regency?
What was it? Impression/parlay. I lost an acquired fiefdom to another regency, lowering our status. So someone who is inherently prideful and looking to make a name for themselves, having been making a big mistake and shunned, has a statement to make out in the world.
Absolutely. All right, cool. And are you taking the +2 impression or parlay?
Impression.
All right, so D6 and impression, and then a +1 to clockwork moving forward. Zach, let's wrap it up with you. What species are you looking at?
Yeah, so you'll have to pardon me, I don't know much about how this all works, but
all good.
I'm thinking tunneler.
Right, hell yeah.
Sweet.
That sounds pretty fun, and is the most one that I understand kind of the vibe a little bit easier than sentient trash, maybe.
I
Did you just call me?
first off, good
Thank
for
you.
you. I'm glad that you don't resonate with trash people the way that I do. But please.
No, just emotionless creatures searching for understanding and meaning.
All right, sick. Okay, cool. So, what tunneler mainframe was your character connected to?
Obviously, Ascendant adaptation, obsessed with the concept of deity and seeking to become a god. Hell yeah.
Yeah, love that. Okay, so +1 to adaptation, and for those not familiar, tunnelers normally are not really separated from their mainframe. They kind of move around like sort of what's the word? Like automatons, right? That sort of go through. It's almost like looking at an ant farm, right?
Yeah.
So it's not unheard of that like a tunneler becomes unconnected or disconnected, but it usually comes with some kind of a story. So Zach, how did your character react to being disconnected from its mainframe? And if you've thought this far through, can you tell us how it happened?
Yeah. I'm thinking that the one of peering into the mind of the mainframe and seeing something unsettling is the vibe I'm feeling. I don't really know much more than that in terms of what happened or what he saw or anything like that.
Love
But I'm
it.
thinking,
Quest.
yeah, I'm thinking something along the lines of that is well, unless I misunderstand what in the previous thing where I just said adaptation ascend is that the mainframe I'm from is trying to become a god, like the whole hive mind is trying to become a god, and then like, or is that separate?
In a sense, there is kind of a level of separation between mainframe and tunneler. It's it's kind of like when you have a shitty job and they're like, we're a big family here, but they don't actually mean it. Like,
but it's so when we say like the over matrix or the mainframe or whatever, that's like the boss. Like there is like a center node or something.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, I love that. Are you going with the plus in deduction or the plus in memory?
What do those mean and do?
So
how does that work?
No, it's a good question. So when you roll in this game, you're going to roll a skill, which in this case would be either deduction or memory, right? And if you're rolling memory, obviously you're trying to remember something that you once saw. If you're rolling deduction, then you're trying to, piece things together and try to put together, maybe a puzzle. And then you would add in an approach, which in this case would be adaptation, right? So the idea there would basically be that you are trying to adapt to certain external stimuli in order to remember something. And then the total of that roll, right, is like, for example, right now you have a D4 in memory, and then let's say you have the +1 in adaptation. So you'd roll a D4 +1, and then the result of that roll is compared against like a difficulty table that I have behind the screen.
Yeah.
So that's what you're looking at. And if you take the plus in deduction or the plus in memory, you go from a D4 to rolling a D6. And like a third level is like a D8, fourth is a D10, fifth is a D12, so on. Yeah.
So first of all, I don't see memory on the skill list here unless I've gone blind. On the character sheet.
Yeah, I don't see it either.
We might have deleted memory.
Oh my god, I think we did.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
all right.
everybody,
Well, I guess it's deduction then.
I guess it's deduction. This is why we play test. Thank you.
This is why Taylor chains me and doesn't let me keep changing the rules.
Okay, shit.
So do I put one rank in deduction then?
You are gonna put one.
You get a D6 in it.
Right.
Oh
right.
well, I can't write D6 in the PDF. It won't let me do a letter.
You can't put a 6 in there though.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Thank you, though.
Yeah, that is another good thing to know.
Tiny little tweaks.
I was making a lot of form fillable sheets in a row.
I can imagine it's a nightmare.
Yeah. All right. So we all have our species now. The next step is to choose a history for everyone. Now, history we have made a little bit more general across the board. What you're doing here is you are picking one of these backgrounds. When you pick one of these backgrounds, you get an item that you get to add to your sheet. And you would also get a bump to either your health, armor, or movement nodes, depending on how you answer the question as prompt. The question is the same for every background. It's, why did your character choose vault pedaling? So depending on how you would personally answer that question, you would get a bump to either your health, your armor, or your movement going forward. Now, does anybody have a background in mind that they think that might be a good fit for them?
I picked one out already. Also, again, this is where I picked all the things and I just didn't know how they applied to the things, but it's starting to make sense now. So I went with City Denizen. Is that the right, or is that familial?
Yeah. So yeah, each of the options on
Is that what that is?
Yeah, each of the options on the sidebar menu have two sub options.
Okay.
Yeah. City Denizen is one of those.
That's why that felt like that. Okay, yeah. So I picked City Denizen.
All right, sick. So yeah, you have City Denizen. I am curious to know, right? So this is City Denizen is basically somebody who is like a member of the big city, right? You are kind of living like a sort of humdrum life, going 9 to 5. It's kind of the same thing every day, but you know the city really well, right? And the city knows you really well. So with that in mind, why did your character choose vault pedaling? Vault pedaling, so this actually, real quick before you answer that, sorry. It should be noted in the lore of this game, vault pedaling is not an attractive profession for most people. For vault peddlers, you're kind of seen as like the lowest of the low doing a very important and necessary job, right? But some people, depending on who you talk to, would call you outlaws, miscreants, vagrants, so on and so forth. So the people who go into vault peddling, typically, they usually have a specific reason behind it. So that is the I'm telling you all of this to give you a sense of context for why this question exists. It's an important question in lore and in fiction. Why did your character choose vault pedaling? Sorry, Elstragoon, go ahead.
So I picked City Denizen because I kind of imagine them being, because of the whole reason where they like left their like tree town to go check out other cultures, so they're kind of like a cultural tourist almost, and so they're getting to know all the different districts, all the different people that come through, and they're very like plugged into these different events or different districts, so that they can just figure out like other things. And so and that's kind of the reason why they picked vault pedaling. Also, I picked the movement to see the world, because like that was more like not so much the world, but the different people of the world. That's kind of their thing. And I guess they get the cloak, which I guess my cloak should probably be like covered in vines and stuff, so I can like pretend I'm like just like a shrub or something like that. It says I can blend in, but like I'm already kind of a tree, it seems like. And with my other character, like I don't know how the gigantic version blends in, so I guess we just kind of like look like a park, and like nobody notices us or something like that. So like that's our like disguise, I guess. I don't know like how that almost seems like a side
here's
of the character, like a different facet.
So first things first, Ember fights are relatively. Corey, you've done most of the art for this. How big actually is your average Ember fight?
Like 7 feet.
Okay,
They're big boys.
So they are big boys, but to be clear, Ember fights are found all over. So wearing a cloak and like disappearing into a crowd is absolutely something an Ember fight can do.
Yeah.
It's just it's a matter of having the right gear, which you now have
Right.
to do that.
And there are like non-star shattered trees still.
Yeah, for
Right.
sure. You can duck into the woods and shit.
Yeah,
Right.
if you're in the woods, you're invisible.
Right. That's plus the cloak.
Yeah. Fun little bit
fly
about
as hell.
Yeah, fun little bit about Ember fights that Corey and I have talked about behind the scenes is most small villages are terrified of them because they eat children who walk into the woods, or at least that's what they tell them is an Ember fight will get you. In the woods, an Ember fight is the scariest fucking thing in the world.
Right. It's its natural habitat.
Yeah.
Like a shark in the water.
Ember fight doesn't want to be fed. Ember fight wants to hunt.
Right. That's right. All right. So I get a +1 to movement.
Yes.
Which is gonna matter later when we assign those nodes. Yeah. But I get the plus now, so I put that in one of the two. So is that why health, armor, and move on the sheet are slashed? So one is the raw stat and the other one is the buff.
So with some of these stats, they're going to decrease. When you get hit, your armor ablates, and obviously your health will go up and down. Your movement can be affected by certain items or weapons, which is why we have that there. This is going to actually affect your total movement, but it's the same as the bump to your approaches and skills before. It's temporary, but they will be added to in the following steps.
Okay, so were I to use this sheet, which I'm totally doing, where do I write +1 down now? Just in.
You just put a 1 in as a placeholder under your movement, and then when you assign the array, you'll know that that one goes up an extra.
But I'm just because I'm curious. So Corey, the intended use of the sheet would be that the left side would be my maximum and the right side is my current. Is that the thinking of how it's supposed to be?
The right side should be the maximum.
Right side should be your maximum, and then left side should be the current. The top one, a fraction, right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess if it's a fraction, yeah. I guess, yeah.
I guess
it never occurred to me that if I have 5 of my 8 hit points, then I have 5/8 of my hit points. I never thought of it that way, but that's totally mathematically accurate. All right.
We are all about mathematical accuracy here at Terramundi Games.
Right. Okay.
All right, cool. Does anybody else have their background already picked?
I might, because I have a question I need to answer before I can pick. You can go, Adam. I just under clergy tech oracle. There is no item.
There is not, and if you pick that, we're gonna have to work something out. I will make sure that you get an item. I think that was one of the few stragglers where I was struggling to come up with an item for it. But we will get you something if you pick it.
I got one other option. I might pick it.
Okay, cool. All right, Adam Patterson, do you want to go ahead?
Yes, Hank does. Hank goes when he pleases. Surprisingly,
sounds like you might need a diaper.
I wouldn't be surprised if Hank wears that.
That absolutely tracks.
Good, but depending on which way you answer, right?
Hank, unsurprisingly, is a rapscallion. It's kind of the track you take when your origin story is unintentionally strangling 3 members of law enforcement to death. He kind of had no other choice.
Rapscallion's a really cute way to say that you strangled 3 people.
Yeah. This is his match profile, right? It's quite a rapscallion. Yeah.
You what a troublemaker.
Yeah. He's a little scamp.
Get out of
he's a little scamp. Exactly right.
However, why did your character, and he is out of the hardened of those 2 options, because Hank, realizing his major marketable skill is just sheer physical force and being intimidating, has probably been almost like a bookie or on the payroll of various bookies or really sort of mid/low level underworld types who just are Hank, can you shake these people down?
Yeah.
So I'd say that sort of results in him having kind of seen it all, sort of kind of bumbling around the underworld, for lack of a better word. So I'd say he probably has +2 composure, but it looks like composure is no longer a trait or skill.
We're gonna have you do it's a D6 in hardiness, if that's the case.
Yeah, D6 in hardiness.
Yeah, and thank you for that. I'm gonna get that changed right now.
Yeah, excellent. Cool. And in terms of the item that Hank has, Hank probably has like a large metal pipe that he just uses as a truncheon.
Yeah, that sounds like Hank.
Yeah.
All right,
Hank
cool.
Does the pipe have a name?
Yes, Lucia.
Okay.
He loves her very much. She's been with him for years. He would never leave her side.
And why did Hank choose vault pedaling?
I think Hank probably had gotten to the point where he'd probably maybe bludgeoned the wrong person. Maybe had gotten to the point where he probably in his own like very dull, limited consciousness probably realized, oh, what I'm doing is really I'm just beating up poor people who took out a loan with the wrong person. Maybe I should strike out in the greater world. To do more with myself and see more. And I would say that resulted in Hank. Probably it's a choice between plus health or plus movement.
Yeah.
In this case,
sure.
I'd say probably plus movement.
Right.
Okay. Cool. So yeah, just take a temporary +1 on your movement. And all right, we will move on. Adam Young or Zach, which of you would like to go?
Zach.
I can go. Yeah.
Okay, Zach.
So I am thinking. I want to know a little bit more about them, but I'm sort of torn between the Demi-Noct and the Awoken. Those both sound really cool. The Awoken?
The Awoken? Oh, man. You've picked two very cool backgrounds. Okay, so... you know what? Actually, Corey, you're like the expert on the Demi-Noct. I'm going to let you do that one. I'm going to tell him about the Awoken.
Yeah, sure. So the Demi-Noct were my idea of, like... A lot of fantasy games have these, like, insert characters that are half influenced by, like, dark forces, whether it be half-orcs, Drow, things like that end up in regular society. The Nocturne are basically that, like, outside force. They are sky pirates. They're terrifying sky pirates with metal masks, and they float on these ships, and they anchor into cities, and lightning strikes, and they raid. And the Demi-Noct are people who are born twisted by the iron mask of the Nocturne. They have this, like, iron mask born on their face that whispers to them in the night. People get dragooned into Nocturne society, and they have no memory of it. They just wake up years later after having been conscripted into this sky piracy. So that is it. You basically have this, like, metal mask affixed to your face, and that marks you for what you are. Just this half cursed.
So it's like because you're not a full. I keep wanting to say nectarine. You're not a full-blooded nectarine, but you have like just like half a mask or something, like a Phantom of the Opera type thing.
As long as the mask is present, I think that's flavor choice.
Sure.
Yeah.
And
but you're kind of like you're just born like having some element of it, but you aren't like actually from that place, right?
Exactly. So you might get looked down on. There might be like some violent turns on you in society, but you are still you.
Yeah, I don't have to have like spent any time in Pirate Town.
No.
And an Awoken is somebody who, for whatever reason,
been on Twitter a lot.
Yeah. Hashtag Awoken. This is somebody who, for some reason, has memories of the world prior to collapse. These memories often come to you in like flashes and dreams. You don't know where these memories come from, but they do provide you with visions. You're kind of jumping through time as an Awoken. Not physically, but in terms of the visions that you can see. You can see... Oh, fuck. I looked at the chat. I shouldn't have looked at the chat.
What's it say?
Somebody wrote hashtag Awoken up on Twitter ASAP. Awoken, the idea here is that these visions come to you, and in some cases, these visions are advantageous. They might show you visions even of the world yet to come. In other cases, they might be incredibly damaging images, like visions of civilization collapsing. But this in itself can be really useful when your job is to raid old archives and like old, palaces or holds where valuable technology might be found.
Okay.
Yeah. For some reason, I'm just imagining that your terrible vision sometimes is just a great goatsy opening in the sky. Anyway.
This is fucking no. We can. I cannot believe.
Jesus Christ.
How did this happen again?
Twice.
You invited
in 1
Adam.
week!
That's how it happened.
Good Lord.
You're all welcome. Here to help.
Anyways.
So, this might be a question that, is better saved for later or something, but
No.
how would either of those two kind of fit with what I have so far with, like, seeing something in my mainframe and becoming obsessed with, like, becoming God or something like that? Like,
Well,
can
here's
those interact in some sort of way, or?
Well,
Yeah.
here's the thing. As far as Awoken goes, I think that makes perfect sense because your whole reason
Yeah.
for leaving was you peered into the mainframe and you saw something unsettling.
Yeah.
I think it's
Right.
perfectly in line to say that like you saw something that like has given you all of these visions that you can't shake off, and that's why you left. As far as the Deminoct, it doesn't say how long it's been since you were with the mainframe, right? This wasn't 6 months ago. It could be, 20 years ago. And since then,
Yeah, what's
you've
the
done...
lifespan of the robot people? Are they, like, functionally immortal, or?
Corey,
Yeah.
that's a you question.
Yes, it is. It is a me question. So they are like a hive society in which like they're put together and fixed when things are broken. So the life cycle outside of the hive is probably closer to like 30, 40 years until things start breaking down, unless someone can fix you, which is like in a world of scrap yards and rust punk can happen and definitely does. And like probably a large portion of tunnelers become, scrappers or vault peddlers for that reason alone.
I mean, what's a ballpark? Like 100 years? 50 years?
I'd say 30 or 40 years, unless you have someone like fixing you or are fixing yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I like the idea that you like looked into the mainframe and like downloaded some archive that's like from like
Right.
8 million years ago, and now you're like, I don't understand.
It's
How this-
a
Awoken
lines up.
seems to make the most like kind of thematic sense, but also Deminoct is cool as fuck.
yeah.
And I
Deminoct is
kind
just
of-
fucking sick, right? It
just really fucking
rips
cool,
ass.
yeah.
It's tight.
All I'm imagining is like this old 17-inch CRT monitor with like a big iron mask around the front and like Ronald McDonald shoes, and I'm like, this is like the weirdest character I've ever seen.
What's up, dipshits?
Can you? Can the
You talking to
Can the-
me?
can the Deminoct mask like manifest later in life, or is it only at birth that it happens? Like,
So
are you marked
my
from birth,
idea-
or is it?
My idea initially that it would be something from birth, but like I think there's room for flavor. Like this happened later on in life. Maybe I was dragooned
Yeah.
and I was cursed with it after the fact. So the initial intent was from birth, but it's definitely something you can flavor.
Gotcha.
Yeah, here's the thing, man. If you want to be a Deminoct space pirate, sky pirate, be a fucking robot sky pirate. That's the sickest shit I've ever heard.
Yeah, I'm gonna do the Deminoct. I'm gonna just
Okay.
go with my heart.
Sick. Go with your heart. If your
We'll
heart
work out the
chooses sky
details later.
pirate.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll figure out how the fuck that makes sense.
They'll design the game around your character.
Exactly.
You always have to make some cool decisions to make it work, you know? I
Yeah.
think those kind of limitations usually breed creativity.
Do you have any idea the amount of stupid shit we've completely redesigned this game over? Yeah, you can be a sky pirate. Absolutely. Okay, why did your character go to vault peddling then?
My options are adventure, protect something or someone, and see the world.
Yeah.
I guess see the world.
Okay,
Or
cool.
yeah, I'll go with that.
All right, so
You
take a
sub
plus.
C with pillage the
Yeah,
world.
right,
Is
right. Pillage the world for parts.
We didn't say
So
what
I
we
can
do
become
after
God.
we saw it.
I need to see more things so I can discover new things that I
I'm
might take.
breaking. I need to steal this stuff.
Right.
Yes. It is a human kind of right.
All right.
Uh,
Okay, cool. So go ahead and just mark a +1 temporarily to your movement. We're gonna reapproach that again here in just a minute. For now, we need to talk about choosing provinces. Now,
I mean, I should probably choose a history first.
Yeah, you probably want to get.
oh shit, Adam, I'm so sorry, Adam. What history do you want? My boy, my
Obviously,
baby
the one you're
boy.
not- obviously, the one you're not ready for.
Yeah.
I want to be a tech oracle.
Tech
You
Oracle.
forget me?
All right, sick. Tell me a little bit about what made you choose Tech Oracle.
It just kind of seemed to fit like the character that I have in mind. This character that focuses on using garbage and old technology to modify their own physical being. They seem to place a lot of faith in that type of thing to better themselves and society. I'm picturing Paul Utar thinking that like everyone should do this to themselves if they could. And so the idea that like by really leaning into that, it would yield like future seeing powers. I don't know. It just kind of seemed thematically on point.
Hell yeah.
All right, sick. So here's what's going to happen.
Oh, he's making it up on the fly.
Oh, hell yeah. I mean, I knew generally what the item was and what it was going to do. Give me just a minute here.
This used to be a feat-based game, and
Yeah.
we have
You got a
lot-
few left over.
Yeah. Okay, gain visions of the future. Roll. Obfuscation plus. What else do we got here? It'd be obfuscation.
Well, so I think I might have been influenced by the scrying bones under Prophet. I don't even like to hold to that in any way.
I believe he had like communication with a technological item kind of thing.
Oh, that is actually scrying bones. Fuck.
Yeah, I was gonna say what Corey just said sounds kind of cool. I don't know. I'm open to whatever. I took it just kind of based strictly on the little blurb there under Tech Oracle, really.
Okay, cool. So what I'm going to do then is gain a d4 when communicating.
Actually, reasonably certain I'm making a terrible character, like stat-wise, but that'll be fine. I don't care.
In my experience, the worst characters stat-wise are like some of the funnest ones to play narratively. So yeah, go nuts with it. So gain a d4 when communicating with old world tech. All
Yeah.
right.
And I just want to say there are no terrible characters, only terrible people.
And there's quite a few of those.
I was gonna say.
Lots of terrible people, though. Just, God, so many of those. Okay, so now we need to talk about provinces. So provinces are kind of our stand-in for classes in this game. Life in the Caravan is pretty insular. Everybody has jobs, everybody has responsibilities that they have to kind of fulfill. And generally they fall into a couple of different roles, right? You have your Croaker, who's basically like a field medic. Spoiler is your basic researcher. Rope Walker is your standard thief rogue character. Pharaoh is kind of your negotiator. Narratively, they are in charge of the caravan. That being said, obviously, I'm not going to give that much power to any one player, but narratively, that is correct. And then, of course, Reckoner is Hank. Hank is a Reckoner. I'm going to go ahead and solve that one for you now. Hank is a Reckoner. Yeah. No, nobody saw that one coming. No one.
I'm gonna sidetrack you real quick with a question from the last one because I didn't choose my motivation. What were the modifications to stats?
Oh,
Plus one.
+2, +1. What did, like? I don't have any numbers in there already. Where do they start at base?
They come later.
yeah, they're
Yeah,
going to
they
come
come
later.
later.
Just mark it down
All right.
temporarily.
Okay, just +1. Okay.
They
Okay.
probably should come earlier, I guess.
Yeah, that actually might be a good
Putting on your notes.
bet there.
I didn't start
It would
drawing.
be something that, like, as someone who would be creating a character who normally I am really focused on mechanical features of choosing my class and background and stuff. knowing what your starting stats are would give me a reference for what all these pluses mean and like in the relative influence.
Yeah, and there's no reason, Corey, why we couldn't actually just make sections 3 and 4 into sections 1 and 2. I don't think that those.
I have it down as stats earlier. We're good.
Okay, cool. Well, that's a note then for this time. Hank, tell you what, since we all know that you're going to be a reckoner, let me tell you what you're getting here. So, when you look at one of these provinces, there is a tree of skills. These are specialties that you have starting out that add a +1 to your roll when you do something very specific. So you'll see the name of your tree and then the first dot, the first level. In Hank's case, for the Reckoner, it's the battle perception skill. And Hank, this means that when you are trying to get the lay of the land during a conflict, you take a +1 to that ability. Now, as you sink more points into that battle perception, you're going to open up the tree to get bonuses for when you try to grapple, for when you do melee, for when you do unarmed, for when you guard. And this will be basically ways for you to customize what that character can do, or what that character specializes at, what bonuses they have access to. Does that make sense?
It does. In fact, it's so straightforward, even Hank can understand it. So
Cool. Good to know. So under your traits, you would want to put 1 rank in battle perception.
Yeah,
Okay.
making note of that, rank 1. Excellent.
Cool. All right. Does anybody else have a province that they are interested in?
I can do the thing.
All right.
Because I already picked these. So I picked Spoiler, I think.
Spoiler.
Was the one that I chose. Yeah.
Boys.
And so it wasn't the money aspect of it that I liked, but it was the idea that you're like the negotiator sometimes between like the between maybe the caravan, like who's hiring you and like the terms of the contract, that kind of guy. That's what it seemed like. Like the silver tongue, I guess. And I thought that would make sense with this character because like he spends so much time with like different cultures trying to like learn about them that he like knows the right greetings or the right things to say or not say against like when you're dealing with like if the person giving you the contract is a Polytar, like, and I would know a lot about Polytars because I've been hanging out with, right, I knew how to do right, yeah, so so that was the nice.
It's literally made it
excellent.
That's pretty nice line work, real quick for a sketch.
Right. Yeah.
So, one quick point of order, because I think that the description here for spoiler needs to be updated. We actually do have a negotiator character.
Okay.
It's actually not the spoiler. It's actually the pharaoh. And I think that they are mislabeled. So give me 1 second here.
Spoiler is more like your researcher. They're
Okay.
the people doing the digging into things.
That still makes sense, right?
Yeah.
It still makes sense. For the record, the pharaoh is explicitly a negotiator. So
Okay.
if you're wanting to make that character, we can absolutely make you a pharaoh.
It seems like that was specifically not on the menu for the playtest, so I don't mind. I don't know that I'm like hyper attached to either one, but if you, I don't mind. Like either one, whichever one you think was it. Caravan's varying size, blah blah blah. All their
Sorry, so
yeah, I like the pharaoh better, I guess. Reading that description of the two.
Okay,
So,
yeah.
I'm looking through like the capstone feats of Pharaoh, and I don't see anything that's like on par with like I think maybe what you were interested in Fast and Loose that was under spoiler, but it still has things that are definitely negotiation oriented.
Right. Well, and things like insight, getting a social sense of people, influencing, intimidating, interrogating, bribing, just making general conversation with people. I mean, these
Right.
are all the kind of social skills that I think you're looking for. we just, I think, mislabeled them in this doc. So that is something that we will get updated
Okay.
in 1E. Okay, so on your character sheet then, Elstragoon, under traits, you're going to put insight, and you have a rank 1 in insight. So basically, anytime you're trying to get a sense of somebody, right? If you're trying to gauge their intentions, whether they're lying, whatever, you get a +1 to that roll.
Okay. So just feedback before I forget then.
Yeah.
In traits, ranks are just +1. But in skills, a rank is a dice type. Is that right?
Yes, that is correct. Yeah.
So maybe like dice types, and maybe those should have different. Maybe don't reuse the term ranks since they don't get applied the same way, right?
That is a very good note. Thank you.
And then on the approaches, you get bonuses like the traits, but they're not listed as ranks.
Good move.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe just like that would just make everything easier to consume. Like so, even when you're reading your book later, you can say this is a rank and this other one is like a buff or whatever, so that you know one is a like, because you still go like rank 2
For sure.
in deduction means D8, right?
For sure.
Or whatever.
That
no,
is
for
a
sure.
very good note. Yes.
In fact, I wrote dice types, rank differential, and then in parenthetical, good eye, Nick.
All right.
So yeah. Also, just to touch upon something, the capstone feats are not being included at this point.
Not as of right now. No.
We won't reach them yet. It's basically once you fill out like part of a tree, you'll get like a capstone feat for filling out the ranks and the different traits in that fee.
Yeah, the trees are currently not developed enough that we're going to get to capstone feats. They're just things we have in the documents for when we need them.
Those are like unlockables for your character, essentially.
Kind of,
is that right?
Basically, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, cool. Adam, Young, or Zach, who would like to talk about their chosen province?
Rock a spoiler.
Hell yeah.
All right, hell yeah.
There's my boy.
We got a spoiler. We got our researcher. So yeah, in traits, you would pick.
Right. So walk me through exactly what that does, because I'm not. It's worded kind of funny, and I was reading other things while.
No, you're all set. So basically, your traits are things that you are specifically good at. Like all of the other stuff that we've done are kind of general things that anybody can do.
So I'm going to put each of these things, archival, field research, and computer systems, under my traits.
No. Right now, you only have a rank in appraisal. As you build up your ranks in appraisal, then you're going to get access to start putting ranks in those level 2 traits.
Yeah.
Or points in those level 2 traits.
That's when you get to start branching out and choosing what specifically my character is going to be good at.
But for now, basically what that means is when you are like examining an item and you're trying to determine what the overall worth or value of that thing is, whether it's, monetary, whether it's like worth as it pertains to like you accomplishing your job, you get a +1 to that roll.
Yeah.
Well, an additional rank in appraisal, which is a skill, so it is now a D6.
Okay, Corey, that is another note for us. This trait needs a different name because you're absolutely right. No, it is not. It is not another.
Confused.
No, this is why we play test, folks. This is why we play test. It is not an extra die type. It is just a +1 to a very specific kind of roll. So we need to
putting appraisal trait? What am I doing?
That is a great question. Corey, give me another word for what the hell this is, or I'm just going to give him a +1 in archival or field research.
Yeah, I think just move up to field research, computer systems, or archival.
Adam, pick one of those 3: archival, field research, or computer systems.
Field research.
Field research. Okay, so in traits, put field research, and you have a +1 when doing that.
Ready. Rank 1.
Okay. And Zach, what province are you looking at?
Well, seems like we're missing Croaker and Rope Walker.
Croaker
And the the ultimate dilemma of no one wants to be healer. I'm leaning a little bit towards Rope Walker, but I mean, we do need a healer.
Do we though?
One of our
Do
guys
we,
is
though?
mechanical. The other guy is Hank. I'm made out of trash.
Yeah, honestly, how does healing even work if everybody is like weird, different, made of different things?
Well, as
Like,
a
what does that
croaker,
even
you
mean?
know
I'll
these
use the
things.
same band-aids. That's it. Just
Right. Band-Aids for everybody.
you just wrap it.
So much Neosporin. So
Right.
much
This is
Neosporin.
Shrek Band-Aid. It's the only Band-Aids we have, and they work better.
You have to put the triple star shatter cream on everything, and then just rub it in.
You can't fix me with a wrench. I'm pretty sure I can.
I'm pretty sure I can.
That's how Hank resets bones.
Right?
Oh, Hank as a croaker would have been.
Oh my
Yeah.
God, Hank as a croaker is a great pull.
Yep.
Holy shit.
+1 to chiropractic.
Yeah, right?
Can you guys bring me to your doctor? I guess.
Can we go back and
Oh,
make
man.
Hank into a croaker?
Right. Deep
So
breath. I will adjust you.
let me talk about healing a little bit, because this is a game that like we utilize like kind of a cross between wound points and an HP pool. So it's a little bit more forgiving than wound points, but not quite as voluminous as a like traditional health pool. There is not a lot of healing in this world. There are options within your caravan that can open up like healing in your downtime phases after you complete a mission, sort of stuff. There's some options that give you like a one-time heal for the day, but healing is scarce in this world. So that is something to bear in mind. There are not enough health potions or moves to do that kind of stuff.
It's scarce in the sense that like it's hard to come across, or then in the sense that like it doesn't do much.
It's hard to come across. There are ways in which that it will have, like, you will natural heal over days between sessions, and you will be able to use like your downtime phases, which we'll get into with the caravan system, to like recover certain lost features, and that's like how that is going to work. But beyond that, like, it happens slowly, and there are certain items that you can come across that will do it, but they're few and far between. So, yeah.
Without the croaker, or that's with the croaker.
Yeah, without the croaker, you get a little bit more versatility in the healing section of the game.
And it seemed to me like, because one of the coolest promises of this whole setup for me is the caravan. And they're basically like a bunch of, well, I mean, they're kind of just a bunch of dice, but they're also like, you know, thematically like more NPCs that are on our team.
Yeah.
So like in theory, we could have a croaker as part of the caravan that's not played by us.
Yeah.
And it would add some, you know, degree of, like, we could basically outsource that is what I'm
Yeah,
saying. Like,
exactly. You guys will be like hiring people along on your caravan who can do jobs, and those jobs, as you interact with them in downtime phases, will give you access to different things. And one of those is a doctor who can help heal you and recover health notes. So don't feel like you're locked into healer. This
Yeah,
just
you
gives
could
you more
absolutely do a
healing.
badass rope walker.
Yeah, I'll do a rope walker then.
Hell yeah, baby! He's a pirate. He's a teammate.
I was about to say, you
he's
have a
cleaning
robot
your house.
pirate. Love it.
Yeah. So I mean, like, is thievery in this more like hacking? Like you're hacking into like old systems and stuff, or is it more like picking locks and shit?
It can be both, honestly.
All the things.
So yeah, like going into vaults, you're going to be dealing with a lot of old world tech. So like it's a matter of specialization once you begin to like develop your character, and more importantly, items, because this game is like about the gear, right? Like you are fucking treasure hunters. And treasure hunting means you get that skrill, and
now,
you get them
though.
items.
For now, though, it means that you get a +2 whenever you are trying to move silently. So in move silently, or on the trait section on your sheet, just put down move silently and mark that as a +1 moving forward.
Is that 2 ranks?
No, it should just be a 1.
Or oh, sorry, +1. Oh,
Yeah, +1. Okay. Cool. All right,
I like that your
folks.
character is like equally likely to like steal data as they are gold coins. It's just as long as it's stolen, they're down.
It's my favorite
Yeah.
favorite trait in anyone.
All right. So
Why did you steal that? Oh, the mask told me. It's the mask's fault. It's not my fault.
That's what they do.
Do you want to drink? Anything stolen's fine.
Right. No, I'll get myself.
So Sprite. All right. So the next two sections hopefully are going to make a little bit more sense. I've asked you to put a lot of temporary buffs into various things, and now we're going to start filling those things out to give you kind of a better idea. So section 3 is all about choosing your node array. This specifically is going to affect your health, your armor, and your movement. So the basic way that this works is for each of you, you have 3 numbers. You have 3, 5, and 7, and you can plug any of those numbers into health, armor, or movement, however you want. Make sure as you're doing that you're applying the +1 that you got from your background, right? So if you plug a 7 into movement, I know several of you chose movement. If you plug a 7 into that, then you now have 8.
Oh, I was gonna say because it says afterwards you can increase them with 0.5, but not beyond 7. However, if you did this, you can get up to 8.
Yeah. Just
are we following
ignore that? Yeah, we removed that.
Oh, well, you did it.
I didn't. Sorry.
All right, so cool. That limitation is no longer there.
Yeah, that limitation doesn't exist.
It's like doublespeak. It's like gone from the document, like it never existed. I didn't see it anywhere, guys. What are you talking about?
What are you talking about? That's not on there.
Yeah.
Never had it on there. Just
Okay.
if you do a German voice, it's always kind of insidious.
So on the nodes there, on the sheet, there's like 2 things on either side of a slash.
Yeah.
Where do you put?
On the
that?
right-hand side would be your maximum. And
Oh,
then-
gotcha.
Yeah.
Then it's
Yeah.
like as you lose them. Okay.
So
Exactly.
yeah, like you can wear armor, which will add to your armor nodes, but like it ablates with every hit. You can like get well, we won't talk about that.
Yeah,
But-
we're not talking about conditions right now.
Fine.
But yeah, no, you're putting the number on the right, and then the number on the left is basically whatever your current armor, health, movement, whatever is. And these next 2 sections are just kind of do it
Armor
yourself.
and health.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
movement,
Well,
armor,
what's the difference between armor and health?
Oh, yeah, perfect. So basically how damage resolution works is when somebody rolls to attack, if their roll goes over your armor, then if their roll goes over your movement, it is then matched against your armor. If it goes over your armor, then it affects your health nodes. If it goes over your armor nodes ablate by 1, and then movement is a conditional thing, so...
So they have to get through all your armor before they get to your health.
Exactly.
But, yeah, so it's a 2-hit. Like damage is static on your weapons, so it is like you get a 5 with your sword. So if I roll a 7, say I roll a 7, and you have a movement of 2 and an armor of 4, I go over your movement. Okay, that roll also goes over your armor, so I affect your health. And that is how that works.
Do you do a damage to the health that's like the substitution of getting through the movement and the armor? Like if I have movement to armor 4, and you have 7, then that's -2, -4, and then
it is the
the 1 gets to the health.
Yeah, it's the difference from your armor, and then your
Exactly.
armor ablates by 1.
So not.
So I lose an armor point and I take 1 health damage
Yeah.
in that case.
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought you took more.
So every time you're
reduce the damage, I thought.
Movement doesn't reduce the damage. Movement's your first thorough there through for a 2-hit to go over. Movement is much more conditional based on the combat hex grid. So if you have people adjacent to you, you can only move on half movement. So movement is affected in a different way, if that makes
see.
sense. Yeah.
so if I have a movement of 7, but I'm surrounded by people and I'm like not literally moving when an attack comes, then the calculation is going to be on like a movement of like 1 or 2 because it's not using my stat. It's using like how much did I move, and my movement stat is like how much could I move.
Exactly.
Okay.
So you can move like 7, and if I'm surrounded, if I have people on adjacent hexes, I can only move half of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the stat move is more for like grid-based stuff.
Yeah.
But when it comes time to like avoiding getting hit, you're going to apply how much did I move last time I moved. And if the roll goes over that, then you take the what's left and apply that to your armor.
You'll just measure it against your armor, basically.
You measure the remainder of it?
Okay,
Yeah.
So you have a weapon that has 5 damage on it, right? Let's say somebody takes the 5 in the 5 in movement. Okay? So I roll a 7 to hit you. It goes over your movement, right? Then
That's the hit roll is a 7.
Exactly.
2 hit is a 7.
So it goes over your movement. Once we get there, that 7 that I rolled is compared against your armor. So if you have a 3, for example, then that's 4 points difference in damage.
I see.
Right, which would then apply. Or no, wait, no, Corey. Fuck, now
No,
I'm fucked up.
No. You are correct. You are correct. So your movement is dependent on like a positioning in combat. Like if your movement is halved if you have people on adjacent hexes. If you've already moved, you depleted some of your movement. So when people roll to hit, you compare it against movement first. If the 2 hit is over your movement, you compare it against armor. If it's over the armor, you take the difference and apply it to your health nodes and ablate your armor by 1.
Well, but hang
Okay.
on. But hang on. You don't take the difference and then apply it to health nodes because the damage is universal. It's based on the item.
Right. Oh, yeah, you're right. I'm sorry. Then it is the...
So, you mind if I take a crack at this?
Yeah.
You took the 5 in movement, and for example, we'll even say, we'll put 3 in armor to make this easy.
Yeah.
You rolled a 7 to hit. So we know you got hit. It went over your movement.
Yeah.
Now we're looking at what did the damage actually do. What did you hit with? You hit with a sword, which you've said does 5 damage.
Right.
Yeah.
I have 3 armor. I want to compare the damage from the sword to the armor.
Yes.
Which is a 2 difference. My armor's going to go down by 1, down to 4, and I'm going to take...
That's what it is.
That is what it is. I'm sorry. I was functioning off the rolling principle we had before, but yes, it is the difference between the static damage and your armor goes to your health, and then the your armor is ablated by 1.
Yeah, so the
armor
roll-
can be stacked
so
up
the
higher
roll-
with like items.
So the roll is really just against movement.
Yeah.
And then after that, you're just working with the damage on your weapon.
I apologize. I explained that in a very confusing way.
We got there.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Would it be fair to say that like some subset of your movement, like how much either you have remaining for the turn or how much you've actually moved, is more like a defense, I guess? Like that's what you would call the like practical value of your movement that you're using for versus a hit is like your defense or something. Like as opposed to I'm just trying to tidy up in my head here. Like, or like your dodge or something like that. Is that sort of what it is?
It is very much like the idea of armor class in Dungeons and Dragons, right? Like your main modifier in Dungeons and Dragons to your armor class is your dexterity, because it represents like your ability to move and like be wily and not get hit. That is taken into account in this way.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it seems to me that my previous configuration of having like 7 health and 3 armor might not be great, because like everything that hits me is going to go over the armor. It's going to quickly become 0, and I'm just going to bleed off the health relatively quickly. Is that?
I mean, you will have a higher health, so you'll be able to take more hits.
It's also worth pointing out that these are starting stats. You will have the ability to buy and sink more points into those nodes here in section 4.
And
the other thing also being that like there is physical armor that will increase your armor. So you can be a low armor naturally character biologically speaking, or however you want to view it. But you can be tanky through gear.
Other stuff. Okay.
Yeah, it is the case that like armor can be buffed in different ways that like health has a more limited range on.
Yeah.
And then while we're talking about how it works, so let's say I've got a movement of 2, you roll a 7, it hits me. You're using the sword, it does 5 damage, but I have 7 armor.
Then your armor just ablates by 1.
Your armor just ablates by
So
1.
so every time I take a hit, you lose an armor, whether it hurt you or not.
Exactly.
Once
Okay.
it hits your armor, yeah.
If it goes over your movement, you're gonna lose an armor.
Yeah.
At the very
Got it.
least.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're gonna lose an armor, kid.
Okay.
Get it in your head now, all right, everyone?
Got it.
I just like the idea of Big Pepsi. He's a drill sergeant, and he's a part of this crew. He's telling everyone how they're gonna lose an armor.
Okay. So everybody good on your node array?
Basically.
Okay. All right, cool. Then we are now moving on to section 4. So this is probably the most labor-intensive part of the whole thing, believe it or not. You all start with 120 points. And you're going to sink these points into buffing up your approaches, your skills, your province trait nodes, for example. You can also, as we were talking about before, use these points to buy additional health, armor, and movement nodes.
Yeah.
All of these things are options for you. You can do this however you prefer. Once these points have been spent, the actual character creation is done. That being said, if anybody has questions on how these work, if they're, or, we have everything listed out on the doc, but if you're not understanding anything, then just let us know.
I should point out that your dice increases for skills go up in steps. So you have to buy the D6 in order to get to the D8, in order to get to the D10. You can't just jump to the D10 kind of thing.
And
Right.
on that subject, for those of us who have an automatic increase to a skill, there's the point buy work where that like for example, like Hank, unsurprisingly, already has a D6 in brutality and hardiness.
Yeah.
Does that mean when I essentially point buy this, I point buy for the equivalent of a D6 to get to a D8? Because it's already.
No.
You're still buying.
You'd still be going to a D8.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, that almost really makes it. It would behoove you to put these sections first.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do-
That
Approaches
is, I
and-
think, the biggest note I'm taking from this session.
How do approaches and skills and traits interact with each other?
Yeah, sure. So,
so
let me give you a basic idea. This is like my go-to tabletop example, right? You're in front of a locked door, and you need to get through this door. First things first, what are you doing?
Looking at the door.
Okay, so you're just kind of like appraising it,
Like
trying
it-
to figure out. what
Yeah, sure.
you,
Figuring
like-
out how to get through it.
Okay,
I
cool.
assume.
So what that means is that you are taking, I think, I think this would probably be something like deduction. You're trying to look at the door. You're trying to find like the weak points in that door. Now the question is, how are you doing that? Are you trying to do it as quick as you possibly can? Are you trying to do it like sneakily? Are you trying to like really just focus in on like the mechanical edifice of the door? How are you doing it?
Sure, I'm trying to look at like the mechanics of the door. let's
Okay,
say.
so clockwork for sure, right?
Mhm.
So what we have now is I forget, you had something in deduction, right? Do you have a D6 or do you have a D4?
I have a D6 in deduction. I have 1 in adaptation.
Cool. So everybody starts with a +1 in clock or in all of your approaches, anyways. But so you'd roll a D6. You'd roll +1 for your clockwork, and then if you have a trait that pertains to this situation, then you would add that onto the roll as well, and then the total sum of that roll is then compared against a difficulty table that I have. to determine whether or not you're effective at figuring this door situation out.
So I roll with the skill dice that I have access to based on what I'm trying to do. The approach is sort of like how I flavor it to try to, based on what I'm trying to do exactly, and that bonus gets added in, and then traits bonus gets added in.
There's relevant.
Yeah, in specific situations where they apply.
Okay.
I should also note here, this is probably important because I don't think we actually have it on this doc. All of your approaches start at 1. You're not going to have a 0 in anything, and all of your skills start at a D4, right?
So if I got a +1 to clockwork earlier, it's at 2.
It's a 2, exactly.
Okay, I did not have that on here.
Yeah, no, I'm just now realizing we did not have that on there, and it definitely should be.
So yeah, the idea here, is that everything is modular in this game. Like, how you approach rolling things is, very modular. It is how you are doing it and what you are doing, and then if you have specific, knowledge and know-how that you can apply, which would be your traits.
Yeah.
And that's why I endeavored to keep everything, just under the hood, everything that you would roll on one page. Because this is a 2-page character sheet, I was like, man, putting together a character sheet is a fun little puzzle. I will say that much.
So I am noticing we are at 8:30 right now. I am trying to keep all of these sessions to a tight 2 hours. I know that point buy stuff can always take a long time. I don't know if you guys would rather do that now with us on stream, or if you want to move on to caravan creation, which we can all do as a group, and then we can sort of work out the point buy stuff over the course of the week. What do you think we would prefer as a group?
I'm happy to keep moving on. I just want to know 2 things.
Okay.
On traits, none of the traits are written here except the one that I've already written, which is move silently. So I'm not sure what the traits are I can choose from. So are those preset or?
So starting out, you only have the one. As you sink more points into that trait, other traits are going to open up and become available. These are customizations that you earn and unlock as you build that character.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And then my other question was...
I can't reach the point where I would unlock more with 120 points, because, we might need that information.
If you want to sink all 120 points, then we'll get you some
I'm
more
not saying
traits.
I would, but I could.
Sorry, Zach, what was your other question?
Just what a stat array node is.
Stat array refers to your health, armor, and movement.
Oh, and that just gives you a +1.
Exactly.
For 20 points? Okay.
Exactly.
Got it.
It's expensive, but hey, if you want to build it
But as
that
we've
way.
discussed, they are worth it.
Could be worth it, yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, for example, Hank Smash.
So, Adam, to answer your question, traits are sort of prerequisite defined in that you have to you have to get one to get to the other, and we don't have them that you could buy them on character creation. You just get the one on character creation, and then from there, as advancement points accumulate, then you can buy and add points into.
So I can put 5 points for a node.
Yeah, for
I
your...
could just jump into... Okay, mine was field research because we made it up on the spot because it didn't have one. I chose the worst background. That was incomplete.
We didn't actually make it up. It was just one of your level 2 traits, which actually you got a higher powered thing as a result.
I stand corrected. Taylor wrote the document. I just built the visuals. Leave me alone, everyone.
I will concede. I feel like I am missing some things at this point, but we can move on.
Okay.
So I think I'm on. I think what's throwing me off is just we already touched on it a little bit. Just using the word nodes and ranks and stuff like that. Just there's a lot of terminology inconsistency that's just sort of putting it all in a blender. But I think once those words are swapped out and homogenized through the documents and the character sheets and everything, it's going to make a lot more sense. That makes more sense to me at least.
Definitely.
But it doesn't seem like the character creation is going to care about what I've done in this step. Is that correct? I mean, the caravan doesn't care if I've got a D8 in parlay or anything like that, does it?
Yeah, I mean, at most, I guess if you were a very talented healer or something, or a very talented blacksmith, then you might pick like the jobs in your cohort a bit differently, but honestly, no. The answer is no. You can have whatever traits or skills you want in there, and it probably is not going to affect what you do with the caravan too incredibly much.
Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like mechanically, I feel like thematically, this game has got a really good vision for like how it's supposed to feel, and like mechanically, I'm still like figuring it out and it's coming together. But I'm curious, like, is the caravan supposed to mechanically shore up our deficiencies, or is it mostly just like a way to do totally different things that we don't have access to as characters? Like, how you understand what my question is? Like,
no, absolutely.
Totally.
It's I would tell you it's a little bit of both. I mean,
Yeah.
there are going to be certain things where, like, if you want to add dice to rolls that like you're not very confident in, having those caravan resources to do that with are going to help you make up for those deficiencies. At the same time, your caravan also consists of a convoy of people who work for/with you, and can simply do things that you can't, like easily repair your armor, help you recover health nodes, help you travel long distances, or getting like important intel from other parts of the world. So it's a little bit of both. Your caravan is going to do things you can't do. It's also going to make up for some of those deficiencies.
seems like we could probably do a decent job building it just
Yeah.
based on the lore of how we imagine our characters, because it's kind of how they're going to come out in the wash anyway once we get done plugging in all these things. So we'll just pretend we've done it.
It's fun building a team together.
Right.
How big is the caravan? Are they traditionally like 50 people? Less than that? Like,
Well, so every caravan, I'm actually glad you brought this up. If everybody wants to switch over to their caravan sheet, this is maybe a good opportunity to get started on that.
Is that the other page? Like armaments and reliquary, or is that like a whole other thing?
No,
It's a
that
whole other
is...
other thing.
Yeah, that is another thing. If you go back to the playtester chat, it should be the second to last doc that I dropped. Hang on one second here.
I got a character sheet in that.
Character sheet
That is a character sheet. Sorry, one sec.
Caravan sheet. The link to the caravan sheet is just a link to the document.
There you
Okay,
go.
one sec. I got you. Okay.
I'm really excited that Else Dragoon is printed out these character sheets and is filling it out. That is, I don't know, very exciting to me.
There's like a special kind of like playtesting that only happens when you like actually do the thing you're expecting people to do later.
Well, and that was something I would like as we were going through this. I was like, boy, I do hope somebody prints this out so I can
Right.
see how readable it is on page,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. No, well, I mean, it was interesting. You were like, it should all be on one page, so when you're rolling dice, you can add it all from one spot, right? And like, that only really matters if you've actually printed it, right? So,
right.
Okay, so I just dropped a new link into the playtester chat. If you want to take a look, that should take you to our caravan sheet. Now, I don't want any of you to worry about having to fill this one out yourself. This is going to be a resource that all of you have, so I actually have a form fillable version myself that I will be filling out depending on the choices that you guys make. So you have this basically to follow along and to give you an idea of what this whole thing looks like. And I will be sending you copies of this sheet once we have it done and filled out. But you don't need to fill it out as we go along here unless you just really want to. Now, Adam, you had asked a question about how big a caravan usually is. Well, the answer is unfortunately another question, which is how big and how reputable is your caravan? At the top of this sheet, you'll note that there are 10 boxes, one of which is checked with a star at the very top left. This marks your caravan as a 1-star caravan. This is this new world is it's very dependent on kind of a Yelp ish system that kind of offers reviews of vault peddlers, contractors, caravans. You guys are starting out bottom of the barrel. So who's in your caravan is, well, it's you guys and it's like 3 other guys. So that's kind of it. Now, when you get to like a level 10 caravan, you're talking about potentially, I mean, hundreds of people. You're talking about a fleet. You're talking about a, what's the word?
Traveling circus.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So for right now, it's relatively few, and you're actually going to help pick the other people in your caravan here in just a minute. But the first thing I want to do is I want to attract your attention to the box at the top right of the page that says School, under which you should see Command, Intel, R&D, and Support.
Quick
now,
interjection. I need access to the sheet.
Oh,
you still need access to it?
Yeah,
Same.
I did too. I'm just looking at ones Corey shared in another chat earlier.
I am literally doing that exact same thing.
I cheated!
Okay, why? This should be accessible to anybody.
While Taylor does this, I know we have Hank as a character name. Do we have any other character names?
That's a good question.
Yeah. Biero Dunsworth.
Whoa, that is a fucking name.
Love that. Holy shit.
I went with a generator and I did it like 3 times and it just was like, that looks perfect. I'm gonna roll with it.
Are there any like naming conventions of the robot people?
No, not really, because you were part of a hive society, and then you were
So did I have a number?
You could take on a number, like maybe they had a number. That's on like. There probably wasn't much naming convention going on within the hive, so the idea of like you becoming your own actualized person, they name themselves often.
Mm-hmm.
So
Sure.
I love the idea of this robot sky pirate trying to like sitting on the deck of a ship trying to decide like what their name's gonna be. What name did your
I'll
robot
trade you.
pick
You
for
can
itself?
name my characters and I'll name your character because I really
Oh.
want to name your character.
If you've got an idea, I'll hear it.
I want. How about Packard Hell instead of Packard Bell? Because that's like an old monitor, you know, like an old computer thing, Packard Bell. But Packard Hell,
Yes.
that's like a pirate, you know. He's like the
I mean, I'm
hardcore version.
I'm not still sold on him looking like a TV on legs. I know that's your
Dude, I don't know if you've seen the illustration, but it's canon
We
now.
might need to revise that a little bit.
He is literally a Dr. Wily bad guy.
I love that so much.
All right, well, I had to get it out there because as soon as I was like, oh my god.
Yeah, so like, I mean, often with because you're like coming into society on your own, kind of making your own way, often with the tunnelers, it's like things of importance early on in their like home personality, right? Like you've always been a part of something and then it was quiet.
Yeah.
And and like, so how you reflect on the world and like the things that are of importance to you are the names that you would take on.
Sure. Yeah, it's kind of like Warforged. Sort of.
Yeah. My name's Shu. I found a shoe. I love the damn thing.
Can everybody see the doc?
Let me see.
I don't know.
I'm sorry.
Nope.
Access denied.
Denied.
That is very frustrating. Okay.
That's all right. I'm still following along just well enough, so.
Well, okay, so for the record, if anybody wants to pull up the stream itself, I have the sheet on the stream. I don't want to make y'all do it that way. I mean, you should have access to this, but
All good. Only one of us is filling this thing out anyway. There's one for everybody, right?
Yeah, you guys would all
So
have,
technically,
like,
we just need one person. It can even be you, and we can all just follow along on the stream.
your banker, basically, in Monopoly. This is the person keeping track on the... I'm crunching the numbers, so there just ain't enough of the coffers.
I'm about to completely...
Just gonna burst the energy, and I don't know where it came from.
here.
Which isn't a good sign for 8:40 at night.
You'll be all right.
So actually, Nick, character name. What are we looking at?
Yeah.
Here?
I had Nectar written down, but
Whoa.
because it's like a hardcore version of Nectar. But
And it also
But I
kind of
don't-
sounds like Reptar.
right, yeah. But I'm really still thinking about what like Angry Grandma is going to be named. But I feel like I can't decide to go like obvious or like ironic. So
While Taylor figures this out, just like a little bit of Ember Fight love. Like, I'll talk about it for the stream.
Yeah.
They have this thing called like overgrowth, which is like they don't age to death; they just keep getting bigger, and they start losing themselves in this growth. And how the clans deal with their aged people becoming these eventually just merciless monsters is how they all define themselves. Nick's clan, the Riders of the Breach, like learn to tame them for a bit before they become like uncontrollable monsters. So it's just a very metal name and a super metal thing to do to ride your grandpa into battle.
Right.
So for anybody who wants to check out the sheet on the stream, the reason we lost all the screen cap cameras, for the record, is because I was getting Twitch pulled up so I could link to the channel on the Discord. So that is the final link that I have on the playtester chat. If you want to click on that, that will take you to the stream, and from there, if nothing else, you can see the caravan sheet. Okay, cool. So, let's go ahead and, assuming everybody is looking at this, there is at the top right of the page, there is a section called School, in which you see 4 attributes, right? And these are Command, Intel, R&D, and Support. These schools help determine how many caravan dice that you get. They help determine how you actually generate caravan dice, which actually, sorry, I should probably back up and talk about those a little bit. So, the central idea for this game that Corey and I had was that it's a game of depleting resources. As you start out a contract or a mission, you're going to begin with a large pool of dice in front of you. And as the contract goes, right, you can add these dice to your rolls if you feel like they're really important. So like that door we were talking about before, right? Let's say that you decide, okay, it's really important we get through this door. I'm going to take a D6 out of the pool, right? And I'm going to add that to my roll as well, right? And now instead of a 7, I've rolled a 10. And as a result, I've gotten through. Well, as the contract continues, right, as that goes on, those resources are going to become more and more sparse, and you don't get to refill them, right, until the end of the contract. So the idea of the schools, Corey?
Hold on. You've actually, we've improved on this with your idea.
We have. That's correct.
Yeah. So the die pool is represented by a community store. It is like it is the company store. And there's a bunch of items on it that are all worth either a D4, D6, D8, D10, or D12. You generate these resources by acting in accordance to the word tag that you put onto one of these traits: Command, Intel, R&D, Support. You'll put a word tag on it, and anytime during the game where let's say you have a command that is warlike, and you take a warlike approach to doing something commanding in the game, the GM can look at you and award you one of these caravan dies. So whatever your die type is on that, he'll award you that. Now, the items are rated, basically, so we have a list of like D4 items, D6 items, D8 items, D10 items, D12 items. You just pick one out of the store as you're playing, and if you can narratively make it work into what you're doing, you roll it, and you add that to your roll. So that's basically how they work. It is a tally that you can keep building as you play, 1 for 1 for acting in accordance to your caravan. So the community you develop is very much what you decide it to be.
So the first thing that we're going to do is we are going to pick the intent. We're going to pick the tag word for each of these 4 schools. Now on the Vault Peddlers 1E doc, if you go down to section 5A, school intent, we actually do provide you some suggestions for what these intents can be. We have like threatening, scientific, mystical, diplomatic, scheming, merrymaking, whatever. It's up to you guys to pick which of these tags you want to apply and which school you want to apply them to, right? So if you want a diligent R&D, if you want a merrymaking command, if you want a philosophical support, this is a conversation for the 4 of you to have based on what you think narratively fits your idea of the caravan. And with that, I'm going to shut the hell up and let the 4 of you work that out.
Yeah, intent suggestions. Well, it's interesting because all of our characters are just so fundamentally different that this is going to have to be like a merging of our, I guess, general personalities.
A lot of us did take See the World, though, as like a thing. So I guess that's our common binder, is that we're all trying to like see the world. Like that was, we all took that same movement buff, I guess, because of the See the World thing for our early stuff. So, or at least 3 of us did, I think.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess that can be the one. That's like our breakfast at Tiffany's.
Yeah. All right.
And then there's 4 different schools, and there's 4 of us. Do we each want to like head one up?
It's not a terrible way to go about it to like expedite the process a little bit. I was going to say we have a pharaoh who's supposed to be kind of like the leader. We can play off that, but I think that's better.
Okay. Well, I mean, we can at least use that as a starting point, and then we can see if it makes any sense and massage it from there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like that. Anybody have one they want in particular? They're like, my character would be all about this.
I feel like, kind of like you said, like if my guy's a pharaoh, I guess command makes the most sense, I think. Is that what pharaoh does again? Or no, he's like the negotiating guy, right?
You're the face.
Command or intel. I could take either one of those if somebody... But I'll do,
Shouldn't
I'll
intel
do
go
command.
to the smart guy, the researcher?
Yeah. Yes.
I was thinking research and development.
Oh, right. Oh, yeah.
But I could take it either or, right? That kind of gives me a 50. Like if anybody wants one of those, I can go the other way.
I can do intel, and you can do R&D, and then I guess support goes to the muscle man.
Hank is gonna do support.
This tracks.
This is the funny thing is like
internal conflict resolution and morale boosting. Yeah.
Yeah.
So when there's a problem, he beats the shit out of them.
Yeah.
actually, no, Hank has little hand puppets, and at night around the fire, Hank just does hand puppet shows. Like you can imagine, like big hulking Hank with like an obvious pituitary gland disorder. It's just like makes these like crude socks over his hands and it's like, hey, how's it going?
While, however, Lucille nearby being like, if we really do have a problem, there is a solution.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Right. I'd like that as a potential side hustle. Like our caravan pulls into the town, and we've got one booth that's like a little puppet display, and you kind of got a little thing you can do in there.
Keep that in mind. I'm not joking.
We send the computer guy around to pick pockets while everybody's watching the puppet show. And
I'm 1,000% not joking. Keep that in mind. That's gonna come on later. Okay, so let's start with our pharaoh. Command. What tag do you want to put on this? You can go with something from the suggestions, or you can do something entirely different.
Okay, and witty is the last one. Is that what I'm seeing?
Yes.
Because it looks like it's cut off, like there might be more below it, but is witty's the last one, right?
Let me double check. Yes, witty is the last one.
Okay. I feel like my character has this. I'm actually thinking about renaming them, but like there's kind of this carrot and stick dichotomy of like the empathetic, like regular sized tree person that like negotiates with all their worldly like viewpoints, and then the sort of like this isn't working out, so like grandma's gonna step in and like make this really a short discussion. But I feel like the A game, the A plan should be the like, I don't know, either like philosophical or empathetic, because it's all about my character's all about like understanding other cultures and trying to like come to like the best practices for these overgrown. So I guess
Sounds like empathy, yeah.
Yeah, it's either empathy
Or diplomatic, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
Empathetic's the one that's coming out to me based on your description.
Sure. Yeah, I was thinking it's either that for me or philosophical, just under the idea that like what should we do with our old people or whatever, you know, like what is their place anyway, man? But
the man really
really sold it.
But like I guess whichever one, if everybody else is feeling empathetic, then that's close enough. That's good for me. So why don't we do an empathetic command?
Let's hear from our intel. What tag do we want to put on intel?
Well, if my guy's in charge of it, mystical.
Mystical.
Hell
yeah. He's trying to figure out how to be God.
Yeah.
And he like does intel for like to help the caravan out or whatever, but like mostly he's trying to find out how to be God.
He's trying to steal God.
Yeah, he's trying to steal God. Right, that's the ultimate theft. That's the ultimate theft, is stealing like the divine spark.
Steal divinity.
Hell yeah.
All right, R&D.
Which is an excellent name for a metal band, by the way. The other kind of steal.
Stolen divinity, hell yeah.
Oh wow,
that's good too.
Yeah, I was going for stolen divinity, but then you did steal STEEL in my brain.
Yeah, steal divinity.
R&D.
As a tech oracle, I kind of feel like philosophical falls into that a little bit. I don't know. It's kind of a nebulous question when I look at it. R&D, tech oracle.
You guys ever seen that movie, The Mystery Men?
Yes.
Fuck yes.
Yeah. I feel like philosophical R&D is the Sphinx, right? Like you all like, we need tools, and it's like you must balance this tack hammer on your head, and so you can attack with the balance to whatever, you know, this nonsense. Like that's totally like philosophical R&D.
And I was gonna like flip a coin for another one, but you just sold me on it.
Yeah. Hell yeah, we have the space. All right, Hank the Tank. What's our support looking like?
Threatening.
Yeah.
Support. You've seen Metalocalypse. You remember that Metalocalypse episode where they attempt stand-up comedy?
Yes.
And Nathan Explosion is standing up there with a body bag doing like a like ventriloquist routine with the body bag. That's Hank.
Love it.
Hank does his best to keep people's spirits up, but like what happens when he's doing like little puppet shows around the campfire at night and people haven't been getting along? He does like puppets of you guys like not getting along, and then he like talks about he's gonna bash your brains in if you don't get along. It's weird and kind of endearing, but like that's what Hank does.
We call this fear-based parenting. Or in my circle here. Yeah.
All right, guys. Moving on. So we for all of these things, you get a certain die type depending on whether you accomplish these actions according to the tags that you set out. What we're going to determine now is what die type is associated with each of these schools. So you start out with 28 XP, and you are basically going to buy levels in these schools. So you're going to start with a D4. Moving up to a D6 costs you 6 points out of your 28. A D8 costs you 8 points. 10 is 20, and 12 is 24. So how would you like to divvy that up? What do you want to sink the most resources into?
Well, question one, right? Do we go wide or do we specialize?
Yeah,
that's really the only question. Yeah,
I tend to vote specialized because it's usually the way to go, but I don't always have to go mechanically. What the best thing is.
No, I like it as a guide though, and there's that whole like, once you have a hammer, everything looks like a nail, and this whole system seems to reward you for like doing the thing you were going to do anyway, but describing it in terms of the things that you took a buff in, right?
Yeah.
And so like, we might as well just pick something, be awesome at it, and then just get good at saying like, well, we're empathetically, beating this guy up for his money or whatever. Like, that seems like how this is gonna work.
This is good
I
for
love
you.
that.
Like, money is only going to make you unhappy. Us taking it from you is really us helping you thrive.
It's just I could feel the happiness falling out of your pockets.
Are we
right
doing
now,
threatening support? We're just sinking a D12 into that?
Look.
I don't know about
You've
that.
suffered from all this anxiety for so long. Having a brain hemorrhage is really going to help you not have to have any anxiety anymore.
And it's
really gonna
cheaper
help.
than an official surgery. So
Okay.
You won't have to buy anything else the rest of your life when I'm done with you.
What do we want to sink our points into, folks?
So we're picking one of these 4 schools.
You can specialize in one of them if you want, or you can spread them out. I like
But
the idea of
the 4
specialization.
schools are
That's
what
tight.
we're applying these dice boosts to. The 4 things we just decided on.
Yes.
Okay. And their base is a 0, or a base is
Their
a
base
D4.
is a D4.
Okay. Which means whenever we command empathetically, we're going to get a D4.
Yes.
Okay. But it could be more if that's what we decide to do, or if we decide to have a particularly inspiring puppet show.
Exactly.
I kind of want to see like multiple puppet shows over and over again during this, so I definitely want to spend some dice on that.
Yeah, I have a theory with Hank that like Hank is like kind of a savant in very strange areas. Like he's repairing simple mechanical things and puppet shows, and like
Right.
you realize that like despite the fact that Hank is not how do I put this, the sharpest arrow in the quiver at all times, he has a very elaborate like puppet show canon and like in character universe of various puppet show thematics. So
Right.
you're getting a lot of those.
The
It's gotta come
puppets
from
are like
somewhere.
way too detailed, like in terms of how they're made. Like they're just like really good, like weirdly, like there's a lot of detail painted on those things. Damn, like
You don't know how Hank with his like massive like just overgrown hands like has the fine motor skills to like paint beautiful like details on the sock puppets, but he did somehow. It's a kind of disturbing, and you don't.
This one.
And the thing is, you don't want to question it because you don't want to hurt Hank's feelings. Because when Hank's feelings get hurt, he gets sensitive. Lucille comes out, so
Right.
you kind of, like roll with it.
One time the
Lucille?
puppet is just Lucille with the sock over it, right? Like
what's Lucille? Is that his weapon?
that's the
Yeah,
pipe.
yeah.
Yeah.
Massive pipe he uses as a crutchin.
I like the idea that sometimes the character is like the way the character in the sock puppet is talking is like way smarter than your actual character ever would be, and it's like, where's that coming from, right? Like,
Yeah, right.
like just so totally feel like
How are
the
you doing that?
vocabulary is like tripled,
That's
just
how a
like,
smart person talks.
yeah.
Did anyone play Fallout 2?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
All right, we can get sidetracked right now, though. It's 9 o'clock.
Let's do our point by, please.
Okay. So
Okay.
what I'm hearing from the discussion is that it's like 24 points into
Puppet show.
the tank, but I do like the idea of maybe like when that doesn't go well, we still have our pharaoh
Yeah.
who has the empathetic command. So maybe a D10 in that one and a D8 in the empathetic command, and then just
I
call it.
like not leaving any points behind.
Yeah.
Yeah, any other combination leaves points on the table. Which
That
maybe
20, that
later,
24.4 points that you can't spend on anything is gonna keep me up at night.
but
So
Okay.
yeah, I like the 28 split as long as we don't feel like as long as we feel like the other two are okay at D4, it seems fine.
So to be clear, then, D8 in empathetic command, D4 in mystical intel, D4 in philosophical R&D, and a D10 in threatening support.
Yeah.
Love it.
sounds like a
Gotta
lot
keep
of
them in
fun.
line.
All right, moving right along. Section 5B, selecting your convoy. As I mentioned before, there are some people that you are working with, or maybe working for you, depending on what the arrangement actually is. In this section, I have a listing of multiple jobs that you can select. Literally, all you have to do for this is just pick one of them. Or pick 3 of them, excuse me. Pick 3 of the jobs off of this list. They cannot be all from the same school, so you can't have like multiple R&D. You can have
Game's
multiple
We need a medic.
you
Don't
can get a
look at
medic.
that.
We do have a medic.
Do look at chat when you get a chance.
Don't.
The Elstragoon's message.
How are you seeing the chat? Where is that?
It's
It's
in
on the stream.
It's on the
Where's that? I thought.
Oh, So
if
you-
if you follow the link I put in the playtester chat, that'll take you to the stream.
Oh, cool.
We only get 3 jobs. I was gonna say there's R&D, support,
gotta pick
intel,
3 of
and
them.
command.
Well, one of them's got to be a blacksmith, for God's sakes.
So
If we can't have 3,
If you
it's
don't
got to
pick
be
a
at least one.
blacksmith,
when
what
we
are you
were
even
first
doing?
pitching this idea, gentlemen, I would continuously talk about the different jobs you could have, and the only job I could ever pull was blacksmith.
Every question I had about how the convoy worked, there was just no example other than a blacksmith. It really just seemed like maybe the caravan just was blacksmith, and that was
it's all
it.
blacksmiths.
It's 6 blacksmiths that follow you around.
It's a legitimate strategy.
All right, so would we like a
Going-
blacksmith for our caravan?
I just like the idea of your
Yeah.
looking at
My only objection is it locks me out of chemist, and chemist is the way to get explosives, and I love explosives. But
Well,
yeah.
No, we can't take it anyway because
if
the
everyone wants
rules.
it.
No. One chemist, one blacksmith.
And I'm gonna wild card a still.
Ooh,
Because knowing this crew, at least a couple of them are probably total drunkards. And I'm
Yeah.
not naming any names, but my tree hurts a little bit.
So let me break down like what the jobs do.
Why?
You get why? No. So these jobs they have a narrative and a mechanical effect. After you have finished a contract, you are going to go to your downtime phase. And when you're in your downtime phase, this is when you recover resources. And you do that by interacting with the people in your caravan.
Right.
You have a vignette with the person who is running the job. And by activating that vignette, you activate their things. So if you have your vignette with the explosives expert, then at the end of it, for your next mission, you got a barrel full of grenades to bring with you, which is very cool. But the only way to have these resources generated is by interacting with the caravan. And all of the NPCs are just like regular people. They have favor and disfavor, and appealing to them is going to win them over. Not appealing to them is going to make them more likely to leave should your rank slip as a caravan.
And they
So-
can and will leave.
Yeah.
A big part of your contracts that you do is about keeping those people employed and happy.
And we get more of these later too, right?
You do.
So they're going to leave.
As
We're
you
going to get
level
more.
Yeah,
So this is just like the day one ones, but it's not
Exactly.
like the
Yeah.
forever
exactly.
thing. So eventually we'll have multiple blacksmiths.
So
Got it.
I'm hearing,
And the higher your exactly.
so I'm hearing blacksmith and I'm hearing still.
Yeah, and the other one that they picked was chemist.
Chemist. Yeah.
Okay. Normally, I would say you gotta have them from different schools. You can't have 2 in R&D, but I'm just gonna go ahead and
Oh.
allow it for this
That's
one.
what I was
I didn't
saying
even
when
notice
when I
the
said
schools.
chemist. I was like, that's my only
Oh,
objection
that's
to
what you meant by
blacksmith.
lock. Okay.
I'm not like, but I'm not so staunch on that I'm going to be difficult.
I didn't notice the things. I see what you're saying now.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Well, and we also have like the Arcanist, who's like R&D/support, and I'm not gonna have you guys locked out of like 2 schools for that. Like, so I'm just gonna go ahead and go with it. So we have your blacksmith, we have your still, and we have your chemist. The next thing we're gonna do is we are going to choose your quirks. This is section 5C. Now, quirks are entirely optional. The way that these work is these are optional things that you can choose to take on. They're additional challenges, additional problems that you guys are facing in the caravan. You can choose to take these on for additional points. You remember that 28 XP that you spent to gain ranks in the caravan resources? You can get more points by taking on additional quirks. Right. Let's say maybe you wanted a D6 in that philosophical R&D, right? Or
I
that
see.
mystical intel. You can take on a couple of these quirks and get the points to do that if you want. This section is entirely up to you.
And this probably should go before
I'm
A,
thinking
right?
the
Like,
same thing. Yeah, it's probably something that we should move up.
yeah. Yep.
The fun thing here is that Quirks last the amount of sessions that you want them to last
Right.
for how many experience points you want to get from them.
Right.
These can be very severe problems, so getting bonuses on them is fine. It's also something to notice that, like, as with anything in your caravan, everything's shifting. Like, your rating is shifting. Your die type can shift from not using it. Your relationship with people can shift from not using it. So a big part of this game is playing this balancing act by keeping your community supported so that things don't backslide. And when they do, you also are going to pick a community goal. And your community goal gets you experience once you solve it.
We're going to get to that here in just a minute. For now, are we seeing any quirks that you guys think you might want to take on?
No, but just as a side thought, these would make really cool post-session awards from a GM. Like, based on this session, I feel like you guys did this, so this is going to apply to you as a negative penalty for the next X sessions, but you get this many points to buff up your thing, almost like a report card after each session.
That's a very cool idea. I like that a lot.
Because all of the descriptions on these are like things that happened in the past.
Yeah.
But they could be more like things that literally just happened 2 hours ago.
Yeah, actually.
Literally, hey guys, remember that dude you pissed off? Well,
Right.
Well, he's blackmailing you now, so.
Right. Yeah. Like, and it's a cool bridge to like the next session too, because it like sets the,
Absolutely.
on the next episode.
And I don't think I've ever had like an end of session recap moment that was like, here's your punishment surprise present.
Yeah.
here's how you all fucked up, because I've been taking
Right.
Okay, cool. So I know Els Dragoon is thinking about passing on the quirks. Is anybody interested in taking some of these on?
Jumped out at me. Besides, Mired by Mex just sounds cool, but
Okay.
It sounds like we can take them at any time, right?
Yes, you
can't.
one, it says, at least in the rules above, it says one in between each contract, like during the downtime.
That's
yeah.
what anytime you're in a downtime phase, you can take on quirks. You can work on your caravan, your community.
They seem like weird choice because they apply to the caravan and we're like just creating it. They seem like they're like a weird bedfellow with the idea that we're just building it, but then we also have like a history. So it's weird now. So I don't mind skipping it now and adding it later.
Okay. Cool. Then we are going to just go ahead and move forward then. And we're going to talk about community goals, because you guys came up with one of the greatest community goals I've ever fucking heard in my life. Community goals are small. They're small little objectives that they raise morale. They increase your experience. They increase your notoriety in the world. And more than anything else, they solidify your family, right? I made a joke before about like shitty jobs always talking about like, oh, we're like a family here, but like Vault Peddler crews are very much like a kind of a family almost by default for most of them. But it is a very close relationship. And as a result, they do little things between each other to make life a little bit happier for everybody else. So the examples I have here are like build an in-caravan bar, or like throw a birthday party for Roy. These are like small goals, right? They're not meant to be big things like become the best vault peddlers in EBA. That doesn't make sense, right? That's way too big. It's not actionable. These should be things that you can achieve realistically, like over the course of a single contract even. And upon completing those goals, you get additional experience points, which you can then dump into boosting those schools, or I think that's it actually. That's all the XP does here.
It's for increasing those goals, and that's it.
So you guys were talking about puppet shows.
puppet theater.
And I think that is like the best idea for like an early start out community goal. And I want to know what the specific goal is for this particular in relation to these puppet shows.
So I think Hank can speak to this. He's been dreaming about this all his life, ever since he accidentally strangled those cops. His goal is to, or I think what he envisions is from Hankish end of things, is that once you create like those like almost like images of something from like Charlie Brown. It looks like Lucy's therapy box. Hank wants to create something like that, except for his puppet shows, where like he just sort of like kind of kneel behind it, but like he's still like his eyes and huge forehead are still above it, so he thinks he's hidden, but he isn't. But he has his arms up during the puppet show, from behind that, like creating like a little puppet show mini amphitheater, for Hank's routines. I think is a big thing for at least Hank.
For sure.
Love that.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say that that's a very realistic goal. We're going to say that if you achieve that, I'm going to give you, we're going to say that that's going to be an additional 6 points. If you achieve that goal in a realistic timeline, like over the course of this contract, if you guys procure the materials to build said stage, and if you take a little bit of time to build it, then these will be additional points you can sink into your caravan to make it just a little bit stronger.
We're all stronger.
Boy's got bars.
He's already in costume.
Love it.
We're
gonna need to find some socks, but he's already got some.
You're right. And these points are ones that go back up to the same like 28-point zone. That's what you're saying.
Exactly.
So if we build one of these, we get 6 more points. And these are unlike the sort of revolving door of who's in the convoy. These points that we spend on our schools are permanent. Okay.
No.
So we'll get to permanently upgrade one of our 4.
No, I'm sorry. No, that's incorrect. Those numbers can go down.
They can degrade.
Yeah, if a contract goes bad, if you guys lose like a star rating, then like you can lose the resources that come with those things. Absolutely.
But assuming that nothing bad happens, there's no reason why it would like just fade off or anything.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's some real startup energy right there, guys. That only happens to things where things go bad for people.
Right?
That's
Yeah.
not gonna happen to us. We have good planning.
Never happened to us.
Okay, guys, I have one last question for you to fill out the stream for the night. Caravans go by lots of different monikers, right? You have the Iron Tire, based out of Aura. You have the Golden Eye from Ishtas. What does your caravan go by?
It's your LLC.
What's your title?
Well, it's a very threatening,
What's our goal?
support-driven caravan.
Yeah.
Well, the goal is just to build the puppet stage for
Puppet
Hank.
stage.
Yeah.
That's a small time. Yeah, that's the first.
But I mean, like our like overarching goal.
Steel God, remember?
Oh right, yeah. Oh, okay, yeah.
The caravan is called the Happy Hammer.
It is both supportive and threatening.
Right.
Yeah.
One side's the happy, the happy, and the hammer. The carrot and the stick.
Well, the happy hammer. So it has to be more. There's more than one. It's a caravan, right?
Well, the caravan itself is the happy hammer
It's all
when
about
it comes
community.
to town.
Right. We're
We are happy hammers, and we work for the happy hammer.
That sounds vaguely cultish. I'm into it.
It seems like we're gonna get to say it's hammer time like a lot.
Oh
That's
yeah.
fine.
Oh yeah.
I'm imagining it's almost like a theme restaurant where we're all like dressed in hammer.
Yeah. Here's your uniform.
Yeah.
It's a big inflatable hammer. Everybody gets one of these.
It's you said gets one.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm hearing happy hammers, and I'm not hearing anybody
Sure.
say no. So
Yeah.
I'd like
I'm sure my
to
character probably doesn't like that name very much.
He's got a private campaign to try and change the name. He's like going around with like a petition. He's like, "Come on, sign this."
And everyone's like, "No, dude. Like, fucking Hank loves that name. We can't change the name. Hank will beat the shit out of me."
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, you've got to convince me to go against Hank. I got no
Right.
problem there.
Yeah, it's like, we're gonna be called the Happy Hammers. Anybody got a problem with that? It's just nope. Sounds good. Yep.
So-
you sounds good.
Coming
love
now
it.
to the coming now coming now
Profound.
to the end. Coming now to the end of our stream. Happy Hammers, this is your opportunity to talk about things that you've got going on in the real world, not on EBA, but here on Earth. We want to thank you all so much for stopping by. Obviously, we know that playtesting several hours a week is like a big time commitment, and we want to say thank you so much. We appreciate it. We're already getting great notes for stuff moving forward. I want to just yield the floor to all of you to talk about projects that you have coming up. What do you got going on?
So I can just take this one because Hank goes where he pleases. I'm kidding. I just finished writing a book on climate change and climate security. That thing, the manuscript was wrapped up in March. I'm currently in the process of shopping it to agents and publishers. It is a grind, and the hope is that the book I just finished, which is tentatively called The Burning Periphery, which is about the near future impacts of climate change on human society and the world order more broadly, is going to find a publisher and hit the presses. Fingers very crossed. Hopefully in time, as I continue working and playtesting with you folks, I will have a definitive answer on that, and your boy will be a published author.
We look forward to it. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Easily on theme. Congratulations.
Yeah, very on theme.
Watch out for Quick Reef.
All right. Els Dragoon, I know that you have like an ongoing channel if you want to plug that for a minute.
Oh, sure. Well, I mean, I've been working on my RPG system for, God, was it like 5 or 6 years now? That was supposed to be getting published right now, but thanks to COVID, the previous publisher kind of evaporated. So at Origins this year, I'll be there pitching it again. I've been setting that up. If you haven't seen it before, it's basically like a starter RPG for people that have never played an RPG before, and it uses puzzle pieces, like physical puzzle pieces and colored dice to manage all the rules, so it's really easy to play. That's kind of my thing. I can post a link to it or something like that in the chat. But anyway,
Please.
that's been ongoing. I've been having a lot of meetings there with new publishers, so hopefully it's a little bit of a judo throw and I get to the part where like I'm choosing the publisher as opposed to like trying to find one who says yes. That's kind of the position we'll try to get into.
You want to throw that name out there?
For Whisperstone?
Yeah.
We'll see. I mean, that's only what it's called, like, until a publisher says what it's called, right? Like, so, like,
Yeah,
that's
fair.
so, yeah, that's what it's called now. We'll see if they change it. But, yeah, I'll drop a link in the chat while the next person goes. But I do that and other board game stuff, so.
Very cool.
And Adam Young and Zach, do y'all have anything you want to plug?
I don't have anything that's active right now, but in the near future, I'm going to be using my Twitch account to play Rocksmith live. I'm going to learn to play guitar on stream. The idea being I will be taking requests and playing them horribly until I can play them. It'll probably take a couple of years before I can even play any songs that people request in a way that they appreciate, but it'll be fun. Unfortunately, that can't really take off until I'm not doing this, because this makes it so I'm doing tabletop stuff 3 nights a week. So I'll figure out that schedule here shortly.
On a related note, hey buddy, thank you. Adam is a fucking workhorse for us right now. He's doing this, and then he's in both mine and Corey's private games that occur on Tuesday, and mine is on Thursday, and it's good on you,
And
man.
it's a privilege.
All right, and Zach, do you have anything you want to talk about?
I've got nothing to plug. I have no real social media. I don't have any kind of profiles or art I create. I just have nothing going on.
Believe me,
Congratulations.
I'm
I
legitimately
am
jealous. I'm
offline.
so jealous. I'm
Yeah.
dripping with jealousy.
You win. You win.
Yeah, no,
All right. Well,
I don't touch grass sometimes.
well, with that being said,
great.
with that being said, we want to thank you all so much for tuning in. We will see you all as the Happy Hammers starting session 1 next week. Corey,
Yeah.
what's the name of the channel that we're about to raid?
Oh yes, it's Tim.
It's
This is-
okay. OHYESITSTIM. Gonna hope that's it.
Yeah.
Raid's been created. Okay. Think we're
Yeah,
about
which
to go?
He does
Everybody-
like some really cool pixel art and all kinds of art.
Hell yeah.
Nice.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much.
Catch you later.
Happy Hammers. Say goodbye.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, Hammer.
Happy hammers.
All right.